Hey there, Nerd Clan. This episode of the Potterverse is brought to you by MinuteWithMary.com. And if you don't know, now you know. But for real, in addition to podcasting, I just love from the bottom of my heart to help people feel more confident and creative when it comes with their makeup and skincare. I know that a lot of us are not necessarily wearing that much makeup right now, but I got to tell you, when it comes to our eyes, that's really the part of us that's showing if you're in an area that you have to wear a mask. So I wanted to let you know that these current weeks, it's all about the eyes. It's all about the mascara, and it's all about the eye cream. So if you are looking for either of those things, I'm your girl. Just search MinuteWithMary.com or search the hashtag MinuteWithMary because I've got the hookup. You're fancy.
1 year ago, he learned the truth.
You're a wizard, Harry.
And his first year at Hogwarts school became legend. And so, for Harry Potter and his friends, another year begins.
Bloody bird's a menace.
Bloody bird.
Their education in the magical arts continues.
Pixies.
Laugh if you will, Mr. Finnegan. See what you make of them. No!
Old rivalries grow stronger.
Slytherin's got a new seeker.
Malfoy. You never catch me, Potter.
And something in the school's
doesn't really catch him.
past will be awakened.
The Chamber of Secrets has indeed been opened.
Unless the culprit is caught, it is likely the school will be closed.
Harry Potter must go home.
Oh dear, we are in trouble.
I love that.
Here's the plan. You disguise yourselves as Crabbe and Goyle.
Are we going to drink that?
Yes.
Harry?
Ron. Excellent.
This year, Warner Brothers Pictures presents
How dare you steal that car!
the next chapter of Harry Potter, where the past will return and the struggle for the future of Hogwarts will begin. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets.
Let us hope Mr. Potter will always be around to save the day.
Don't worry. I will be.
Sure thing. From Providence, Rhode Island, welcome to the Potterverse. It's a podcast dedicated to the book and film universe of Harry Potter. So grab your favorite wands and time turners. Let's step into the night and pursue that flighty temptress adventure. Everybody, and welcome. My name's Mary Larson.
My name is Blake, and I'm just going to say it. Kenneth Branagh's the best. Just the best.
He's pretty amazing.
He is the best. Whatever, everything he
Simply
did,
the best.
everything he did in that film, in this film rather, is perfection.
Agreed.
All of it.
Agreed. He nailed it. As do most of the adult cast members in the Harry Potter movies. I mean, I'm not going to lie. They literally say, like, who are our best actors? We're just going to take you together and make you into these amazing, whimsical, crazy creatures of teachers.
Right.
I love it. Well, of course, we wanted to make sure that all of you know that we actually recorded a full commentary track while we rewatched The Chamber of Secrets.
Yep.
Full track, guys. That's right. The 2.5 hours or however long the Chamber of Secrets is. You can actually hear it at jointhenerdclan.com. Is it open up to all levels? I believe it is. Right?
No, it is the
Klansmen and Up.
Klansmen and Up.
Klansmen and Up. Jointhenerdclan.com. You can watch along with us. We know that times are tough right now with COVID, not being able to have as many movie nights with your friends. It's going to feel like we're having movie night with you, okay? So we count it down and you push play and you're good to go. Quick question of the day, Blake.
Yes.
What do you look forward to most in this movie? And our friends joining us online, what did you look forward to most?
Oh, man. That's a good question. What did I look forward to? Is something from the book? I really looked forward, I think, most to how they were going to do Tom Riddle. That was one thing that I really wanted to know how they were going to approach that. And they both exceeded my expectations and let me down in a few ways when it comes to Tom Riddle. So I think I would say... Yeah, Tom Riddle. Yeah. How about you? What's the thing that you most looked forward to when it comes to this film?
Well, now here in the future, knowing what happens, I just love my time with Richard Harris in this movie.
Yeah.
Just knowing that R.I.P. He's no longer with us after this movie. And so it's something that I savor. I savor him in the first and the second movie quite a lot. I really, really enjoy the Ford Anglia. I know it's not like a character, but I just think it's so wild. And I think that that's really a great word to sum up the Chamber of Secrets. It is a wild ride of a film.
Yeah. That's something that we're definitely going to talk about as it relates to this film. The pacing of it and how quickly it moves. In some spaces. Oh, by the way, one thing I had to mention, one of our listeners for the last episode asked us who we would recast in today's Harry Potter
if Harry Potter was made now,
and I unwittingly said Jared Harris as Dumbledore. Little did I know, again, unwittingly, Jared Harris is actually Richard Harris's son. Did not know that.
Wow.
That just happened to be, one of our listeners said that to me. And I was like, oh my goodness gracious, that is amazing. Totally.
That's really cool.
Did not expect that. So interesting stuff how that happens sometimes.
Yeah, I agree.
That's how it works.
I think, but we're just gonna have a lot of fun. We're gonna have a lot of fun talking about this. But before we do, of course, we want to let everybody know that all of our podcasts are available at maryandblake.com. We are doing a special podcast about The Crown for our patrons at jointhenerdclan.com. We are actually taking next week off from the Potterverse and binging The Crown when it comes out on Netflix starting on Sunday.
Right.
And literally, we are going to binge the entire season 4 of The Crown and podcast about it all within 1 week. So for those of you who love Netflix and just to binge through stuff, we're going to be right there with you. We may be sounding British, having crumpets and tea.
We're going to sound tired. That's what we're going to sound.
We totally need to have like teacups.
Of course
I should go
we
to
will.
Savers and go get fancy ones because we don't have fancy ones.
We're totally getting crumpets and like little sugar cubes and stuff. Oh,
yes.
yeah.
Maybe like a stuffed corgi. Maybe. But nonetheless, you can find out our Keep Calm and Crown On, of course, at maryandblake.com. And we are still podcasting about the show This Is Us on our This Is Us 2 podcast. So you can find out all of that, maryandblake.com. And for The Crown, jointhenerdclan.com.
Oh,
all right.
And also one last thing too.
Yeah?
For those of you who are wondering about the members at jointhenerdclan.com.
We need to have that as a sound.
That's true. No, we did not only meet the 510 members that it was required for me to wear a Hufflepuff t-shirt and do whatever the members at Join the Nerd Clan wanted me to do. We far exceeded it, by the way. You guys blew us away, and you continue to blow us away.
Christmas wish.
Yes, it was. So for those of you who are not watching the live right now, fret not, my friend. The next episode of the Potterverse, which I believe will probably be the first chapter of Azkaban, I'll be wearing the Hufflepuff t-shirt.
Yes.
And
singing.
I will be doing...
Hogwarts, Hogwarts.
I'll be doing whatever the listeners at the Join the Nerd Clan want me to do. If that is singing the Hogwarts song.
Yes to it all.
That's what I'll be doing.
All right, let's get into the show, Blake.
All right, let's do it.
I solemnly swear that I'm up to no good.
Pumped for the puffs.
All right, so this one, of course, is Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. We are reviewing the film. The director, for the last time in this series, is Christopher Columbus.
Sailed the ocean blue.
Chris Columbus, of course, directed these Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, and now Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. He's one of the producers. He actually is one of the producers behind Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban film as well. I would argue that you don't see Chris Columbus at all in Azkaban. But what?
A spider.
Oh, goodness gracious. Nope, there's a
Yep.
spider in our studio, and I refuse to look at it. Okay.
Do you want me to take care of it while you say everything that he's done?
No, that's okay.
I can.
So Chris Columbus has directed Home Alone, of course, Home Alone 2, Mrs. Doubtfire, 9-month Stepmom, Bicentennial Man, Rent the film, and then I Love You, Beth Cooper, and actually Percy Jackson and the Olympians, the Lightning Thief. He was there. He was meant to go in there and start a whole brand new franchise for Percy Jackson. Unfortunately, it flopped. It didn't take.
It tried.
The writer was Steve Kloves. Steve Kloves has written all of the Harry Potter films except for Order of the Phoenix. And he actually wrote The Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield. He wrote that film.
I dig
and
it.
is now currently being brought back to write The Fantastic Beasts number 3.
Good luck.
I know, that's true. Hopefully he can bring some of that
May the
HP
odds
magic.
be ever in your favor.
I know. He did not write the first 2. That was actually solely written by the author of this series. So, and I think you can tell. I think you can tell that it was she who wrote the films and not an actual screenwriter. Just throwing that out there. All right, Marvin, it is time for our lightning bolt rating. What do you got for your how many lightning bolts are you giving Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets?
I'm giving it a 4.8.
Okay, wow, that is an aggressive.
What do you even mean aggressive?
That's
I didn't
an
give it a
aggressive
5.
rating.
I didn't give it a 1.
I think you gave, you didn't give it a 1. I think you gave the Sorcerer's Stone 4.9. So if that's the case,
Yeah.
I'll go along to get along.
Yeah, it's not. I don't hold it in my heart as dear as the Sorcerer's Stone because the Sorcerer's Stone opened the world up for me.
Mm-hmm.
But this delved into it, and it took, what was it, like a surprising treat to being like a multi-leveled morsel.
Fair enough, Mary. Fair enough. For myself, I'm giving this actually the same exact rating that I gave the Sorcerer's Stone because I think on the whole they're similar films structurally, of course. The direction. I would say that the lighting is different in the Chamber of Secrets, and I think that's on purpose. But I'm going to give it a 4.3. This is a film that is. It's competent. I don't think it's a very good adaptation of the book.
Are you kidding me?
Well, again, you have to parse. You have to parse the definitions.
Them's fighting words.
You have to parse the definitions.
Okay.
An adaptation is different than just an outright copy, and I think the film is essentially an outright copy of the book. It's barring a few things, but an adaptation is something that you do when you are making choices and you're being brave and you're making things fit to the frame of a film and not just translating a book to film. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I'm totes cool with how they did it.
And that's fine. That's fine. But the film is overlong and it is, there's no time to sit and just sit with the film, be with the characters and experience some of the feelings that the character's having. We're too busy going from thing to thing to thing to thing to make sure that we get all the things from the book, which is a criticism I often lob at Outlander. We're too busy doing stuff instead of doing actual story. And that's what I feel like this film does. All right, what do you got for your GBG? The good, the bad, and the great.
My good is just the expanding of the Wizarding World, that multi-level morsel that I was talking about. We get to go hang out at the Burrow, and we get to do more shopping and go buy flu powder and learn about Nocturne Alley. We get to have this multi-layer that there isn't always just whimsy and good in the world, that there are bad names that people call each other, that people think that they're better than each other in this book just because of their bloodline, that there are classes economically in the system, that you can duel. It's not just about like, I'm going to fix everything, but like things really get to happen at such a young age. My bad is we really don't get to spend time with Ginny in the sense that like she's never even consideration for the person who could be opening the Chamber of Secrets. If anything, we lean in towards Malfoy the entire time. You know, we know that it's not Harry because we see Harry. Even though in the books you kind of are somewhat wondering, you're like, ooh, could this be tricking me? Could this be like Memento? You know, like could it just be this really big mind shift? So, you know, we lean towards it being Malfoy for about half of the movie. And then, of course, with the Polyjuice Potion, we find out that it's not him. And then you're really just left to wonder, like, who is it? Is it Hagrid? I don't really think it's Hagrid. And we don't see Ginny. My great was all of the new adult casting. You know, we got Lucius Malfoy. We did get Gilderoy Lockhart. We got Professor Sprout. We just really got to have some fun time. We got Mr. Weasley. We got Arthur Weasley. You know, some people who become such an integral part of the fabric of this universe, of which they picked, once again, extraordinary actors for these roles. Yeah.
Mr. Weasley is one of those good character just castings.
Yes.
Where when he walks into the house for the first time, sits down, looked at Harry and says, and who are you? Who are you? You really believe that he really would say that and would act like that and would do that. So I really liked
it's fun because, like, Arthur Weasley, for example, you know, of course I read these books before I saw the movies, and Arthur Weasley cast here in the films is my Arthur Weasley when I reread him.
What do you mean?
It's just, it's like the actor meets Wallace from Wallace and Gromit.
Oh, yeah, okay.
You know, like when you're just imagining in this kind of nebulous world when you're reading,
sure,
it is always him
/
Wallace.
Gotcha. Okay, gotcha. Fair enough. Okay, for me, the good, the bad, the great, the GBG, it begins, of course, with the good, and that is the mirroring scenes between Dumbledore and Tom Riddle, and, of course, Harry at the same time. Well, not at the same time, but those mirroring scenes.
Which we got to read those same seeds, but you're saying you liked visually being able to see them?
Yeah, visually, but the scene actually plays different in the book than it does the film. In the book, it is the current, at the time, headmaster, Dippet, that Tom is talking to. But in the film, it's the Transfiguration Professor that is, of course, Dumbledore.
Yes.
And I think thematically that runs a lot better with in the film than it does in the book, because I think in the book you spend a lot of time in Harry's POV.
Correct.
And because of that, you in the book get a much better sense of Harry's loneliness and his
all by myself.
and his being scared of what is actually happening and
/ is it me?
Yeah, and that's the next thing. And because of that, when you mirror Dumbledore with Tom and Dumbledore with Harry, you're getting a sense of that, but also you're putting Dumbledore in a situation for that character where he knows something is up.
Yeah.
And it's not just because he's telling you that he knows, it's that you're showing. You're showing as a director or as a writer that this Dumbledore has done this before. And he knows what's coming. The bad for me was when Harry was fighting the basilisk, and we essentially have Tom Riddle doing play-by-play for the whole thing. When Fawkes comes down and eats away the basilisk's eyes, we have Tom Riddle, this poor guy, Christian Coulson, who plays Riddle, he says, the basilisk may not be able to see you, but he could still hear you. It's just so...
You don't think that that'd be like a bad guy thing to do? Because I would do that if I was a bad guy. Oh,
no, I wouldn't say anything.
A fast one?
I wouldn't say anything.
But he has to direct the basilisk. He has to tell him.
You don't have to tell Harry that he could still hear you. That's the whole idea. The less Harry knows, the better. The only reason why that was put in there was because it's exposition for people who are watching the film to understand that the eyes of the basilisk are gone and that he can still hear
So why
Harry.
is this bad? Everything's like thrashing about they needed that. Everything
no,
moved
they don't
really quickly.
need it. They don't need it. But first of all, it was written very poorly and it was very awkward. And the the way that it was delivered, it was, he can still hear you though. Like, it's just so stupid.
What was your great?
My great. Come on, man. Come on. We all know the great. Kenneth Branagh. Kenneth Branagh steals the show in this film. Without Kenneth Branagh, this movie is no way half as good.
I mean, I just love your love for him, I guess, is what I'm getting to.
Sure. But without him, this movie is nowhere near as good.
I think I know what I need to get you for Christmas.
What's that?
Anything with him on it.
Oh, man. By the way, there was a comment from Victoria. She says, but wait, I thought Blake was upset when things don't move too quickly and the story it just plods along, essentially. That's what she said. Yes, I agree. That is true. I like when the story moves, but not at the detriment to character and not at the detriment to what they're trying to accomplish. So that I just had to address that. So, Marvin, where do you want to begin with this film? What do you think it did well, and what do you think it did not so well, I would imagine? I know we just did our GBGs, but I guess I could start it off like, do you think the movie is just too long?
You know, it's so tough because if you're really trying to like have things done in a timely manner, it is a long movie. But as someone who loves the Harry Potter franchise, you know, I can just have these movies on the background and stuff. Yep. I honestly didn't know how long it was until we did our commentary track and you were like, okay, it's 2.5 hours long. And I'm like, oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Fun fact, I fell asleep for a moment while watching this movie. And for those of you who are at jointhenerdclan.com, you may or may not figure it out. But I say something that completely doesn't make any sense.
And I just bust out laughing.
Yeah.
It's toward the end of the film.
It is towards the end. It may or may not be in the Chamber of Secrets itself.
Yes.
There you go.
And it may or may not be about Ginny.
Correct.
And it just kind of, it pops up and then we laugh and we move on. And
moved on.
Because Mary fell, it was late. I will admit, it was late when we were watching it. So, there is an excuse there. What I was saying about though, Mary, I think the movie is too long. I think they do so much to get all the little references in, and they still don't get them all in. I mean, the thing with Percy and Penelope Clearwater, they give a head nod to it. They say, "Oh, hey, Miss Clearwater, Mr. Weasley," you know, that whole thing. It's a nice little nod, but they do their absolute best to get every freaking little detail. And as much as I love Steve Kloves, he essentially cribs the entire book for the dialogue of the film, which I think is good and also bad at the same time. It doesn't feel like a film. It feels like a series of scenes. And I think that's probably that is one of the complaints I had about Sorcerer's Stone as well. It felt like a bunch of scenes that have been sewed together to make a Harry Potter film. What do you think about that?
You know, they were still getting their feet wet. I think that Harry Potter as a book, but also a film franchise, were very different, you know, being in the sense that like this was kind of a kid's book and kid's movie, or was it more aimed at teens, or was it even aimed towards adults? You know, it really kind of like energized this huge swath of ages. And when you look at normal kids movies, which Blake and I have watched a lot of,
yes,
a lot of, and when it's not cartoon or CGI'd, when it is real life actors, real life kid actors, the plots are really easygoing for the most part. I mean, we watch a lot of, for example, the Buddies movies, Space Buddies, Santa Buddies,
Spooky Buddies, Treasure Buddies.
Yeah. Okay. So we're used to that kind of a thing, which obviously it wasn't written for that young of a child. But I think that they were really trying to figure themselves out. And here they are with this 12-year-old lead, this 12-year-old hero, and he's getting involved in some really, really dark stuff. So not only was it really dark stuff, but the importance that I wonder if the author made clear to them, like, no, you can't cut that out. And no, you can't cut that out. Oh, does he have to speak to snakes? Yes, he does. Does he have to have this diary? Yes, he does. Do we really need Dobby? Yes, we do. You know, all of these things, like Chamber of Secrets is really this important, screw that's going to like bind things together. Not screw, but I'm trying to figure out the right word for it. But like it puts out all of these things that really have so much importance in a later date. And it really sets the scene for a lot of personal dynamics.
Yep.
So I appreciate what you're saying, that it's like scene by scene and like this is happening and now this is happening now. But I sit there and I'm like, I don't think they could have cut much. Because it wouldn't have either made sense for the book or it wouldn't have made sense for the series. Like you needed to have certain things kept in this long movie so that way it would make sense in the further future series as well.
Yeah. I mean, I get that. I suppose I take issue with the fact that you just don't get a chance to listen. When it comes to adaptation, it's all about choices, right? It's all about how do you adapt the thing, right? The book. How do you adapt the thing to become the new thing, but still get a fairly equal treatment to the form of the thing, right? The form of the book, the DNA of the book.
Okay.
How do you get that translate to film? And when I look at Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, the first thing that comes to my mind is Harry's self-doubt and his loneliness. And you don't get that from this film. Do you think they could have done a better job or a better way of adapting that? Or do you think they did the best they could to portray that loneliness?
Well, it's interesting because I don't think there was enough time with him without either Ron or Hermione for him to see or look lonely. You know, we didn't get to have those moments of him really questioning himself because he always had to be doing something with one of his best friends.
Yeah.
So yes, we had the, what are you playing at? You know, and Ron and Hermione telling him that people don't usually speak parcel tongue. But aside from that, I agree with you. I didn't feel Harry as lonely. I felt him as very driven to figure this out, very concerned, but not necessarily that like self-wondering, like, is this me all along? And I agree with you. I think that that's a very deep thing that happens with inside the book that is interesting to read, but I just don't think they had the time or the ability to portray it on screen, and I don't know if the actor was really up to it at this point.
That's a really good point. It's easy to write, right? It's easy to write these kind of scenes where you're not in the film. I'm sorry, in the book, you're telling the viewer through Harry's POV, and you're able that the character on page is at the whim of the author, right? Of any author, that character can do or say or portray anything that author desires. When you're on film and you're dealing with let's call Daniel Radcliffe 12 years old at the time. Who knows if he was? Is Daniel Radcliffe capable of handling these big scenes? Is he? I mean, we did see it in The Sorcerer's Stone, right? There was a moment when he's sitting in that window and looking out, and the moonlight is on him at night, and he's staring out at the window with Hedwig there, and you get a real sense that this is Harry's world now, and he's in total wonderment of that. It did not get that from this film, either in a positive way or in the negative in quotes way where Harry is alone. The one thing I will say that they kind of do is they still keep the scene with Harry and the hat. But it feels perfunctory almost. Do you know what I mean?
No.
Like it feels like it's there because it needs to be there.
Oh. Well, I didn't feel that way. I didn't.
Okay. No, fair enough.
So now that you're like done kind of hating, let's move on to the other things that were so great. I particularly loved seeing more of the magical world. You know, the fact that Harry like dives into this book, and we get to see things from a different time frame. We get to see young Tom Riddle, and just the fact that that Harry gets to walk among these memories, which once again is something that he will be doing in future books, many, and in future movies several times, like going back into people's memories where he actually gets to walk along with these characters, not necessarily interact, but gets to see. I mean, we do it even in the next book, where he goes in and sees somebody. I'm not going to give it totally away yet, just in case some of you haven't read it yet. We will be getting to it. But I just love that. I also loved seeing the kids duel. And this is where Harry learns Expelliarmus, and I love in this movie, I've said it before and I'll say it again, watching Alan Rickman portray Snape, knowing that the author had told him the truth about Snape, and just watching him with that little extra curiosity to see, and he's not really prevalent in this movie. Mm-hmm. He's not
he's there for a couple of things. Obviously, he's there for the duel.
Yeah, and he does like this like fake clappy thing, exactly with Gilderoy. Yeah, I think that's really his most time is when he's doing the dueling club.
That and when he is in the spot of the detention and he's like crawling on the desk as he's going to talk to the boys.
You did love those moments.
Oh man, I love it. Those are the little things. Those are the little things that Rickman brings to Snape that I think makes Snape a viable character.
Agreed.
And that's what Rickman brings to make that unique to him. I don't see, and like obviously the way that he speaks and all that other, it's
he made Snape.
It's butter and bacon grease how he sneaks, right? Speaks. It's amazing, but he makes it
butter and bacon grease.
Yeah, that's his voice is butter and bacon grease. That's how smooth that man is.
That's smooth.
He's just. Oh man.
But I agree with you. I think that he took a character that was a bit flat.
Yes, absolutely.
And really embellished on him. Speaking of characters, we got Dobby, okay? Which, the CGI, it kind of holds up, to be honest. Like, you can tell that it's earlier CGI, but they did a pretty good job.
Yeah. It doesn't stop the film from, it doesn't stop the film dead in its tracks anymore. Like unlike some CGI from that time.
Yes.
It doesn't, I think they did pretty good with it.
I think what was neat is that they introduced him while Harry was still in the Muggle world, and it kind of jarred all of us as viewers. Obviously, it's what happens in the book, but we're back in For Privet Drive, back in the regular Muggle house, and yet a magical creature comes to Harry's house. And this is a magical creature that we didn't know existed. Harry's never met an elf before.
Sure.
And I just think that they did a really good job with it for being what it was back in the day. I will say something that was going to be my bad, but I feel like I've ranted about it before, is the Lucius Malfoy, setting Dobby free accidentally because Harry gives him his sock.
Yes.
And Lucius Malfoy tries to Avada Kedavra Harry Potter in the middle of Hogwarts, which that didn't happen in the book, and it would not have happened. And so I know we've talked about it before, but I just need to get it off my chest again that is one of the things that I really dislike the most about this movie. Yeah. We get it that Lucius Malfoy is a bad guy. They didn't have to have him try to do the killing curse on Harry Potter.
I would agree. I would dare say that final scene with Lucius is somewhat bungled.
Ooh, yeah.
It's somewhat bungled, and not in the writing per se, because I like the way that Richard Harris and Jason Isaacs play off of each other.
Yes.
But there's this really weird lighting that is on
when he's in Dumbledore's office, or when he and Harry are in the hallway.
In the office, there's this, and it's just like this very old school, Hitchcockian, lighting on his eyes, and that's it.
Okay.
And I just
in case you didn't know, this is the bad guy.
Yeah, I find that so overt.
He needed a black leather cloak, like the equivalent of the black leather jacket for the bad guys. In case you didn't know by now that he was the bad guy.
Yeah.
We're gonna do this, and it's almost like that's what clicks in Harry's head. Ooh, look at the bad guy lighting. It was him. Because what a good memory, by the way.
What do you mean?
Can we just give Harry Potter some props? He remembers Lucius Malfoy.
Oh, yeah.
Putting books in Ginny's cauldron.
Yes, yeah.
From August.
Right. Agreed. That is some, that's almost eidetic memory right
Seriously.
there.
For a 12-year-old boy, add that to the chart that Harry's paying close attention to Ginny. Just saying. Just saying.
Good point. Speaking of Ginny, how do you feel like they handled the Ginny of it all in this film?
I think they put in enough for us to care about Ginny. She wasn't, as I said, she wasn't on our radar at all. When she's in the Chamber of Secrets, you feel bad. And honestly, you feel bad because it's Ron's sister. You get to see her a little bit. She's, going off to Hogwarts and is excited. But really, she's not existent, nor are we worried about her throughout the movie.
Yeah.
So
They don't play into the fact at all that she is the one doing the Chamber of Secrets.
That's what I mean.
Like at all. Like there's not even an allusion to it. There's this one scene in the library where Ginny's like kind of staring at Harry. But my recollection of that is that I don't think you're supposed to get anything from that scene other than
because I think it's when he has the book. Is that when she sees it and then she's like, "Oh, I gotta get that book."
Right.
But like, what's going on?
And there's also like with Ginny later on when Riddle is explaining, doing the monologue to Harry, the weird like distorted visions of
her opening the chamber,
her opening it, and like it's like moving, like it's so early 2000s.
I was fine with that though. I was fine. And Bonnie Wright was not my favorite of the child actors.
No.
So like A for effort, but as I said, I didn't feel for Ginny in the movie as I did for her in the book. I really kind of worried about her because I'm like, why is she getting sick? Like, what is wrong with her? She's freaking out. She's just this little 11-year-old and like, school's crazy, man. It's kind of how I feel for our kindergartner right now. Like, oh, here's school. Wear a mask. Don't touch anybody. It's like, is this really what school's like? No, usually the Chamber of Secrets isn't open, but you don't get any of that. You don't get any of that for Ginny. But as I said, I think the investment comes from Ron. I do have a lot of fun with Hagrid in this movie.
In what respect?
I'm just happy that he's back. I'm happy when they go and they visit him and his little like follow the spiders, just his little moments that he gets to have. I love that Hagrid is just this reoccurring character in the stories, but also Robbie Coltrane, gosh, just hits Hagrid out of the park.
Yes, he does.
He's another one. Like when
Perfect
I read,
casting.
it's Hagrid.
Yeah,
It's Robbie.
Yep. I couldn't agree with you anymore. And this, speaking of Hagrid, I have to say the scene with Emma Watson and Robbie Coltrane as Hermione, respectively, and Hagrid, when she's talking about the mudblood situation, of course she's the one who knows what it is and she's the one explaining to us, which I think is really important for Hermione's character. Again, a difference from the book, a really good, again, adaptive choice. That is an adaptation. That is a choice for the film to give us a better thematic picture of what the book is trying to accomplish. I think it serves the film and the story a lot better that Hermione knows what a mudblood is as opposed to getting the explanation from Ron.
Agreed.
The way that it happened in the book. But that scene is incredible. It's incredible because it allows Emma Watson to really just show you the kind of little, the kind of actress at that time, what she was capable of doing. Her eyes as she's looking at Hagrid and with the tears and her little wry smile as he's trying to help her out.
Complimenting her.
Yeah, really special stuff.
However, I do think that the best of the children actors at this current moment, it is Rupert Grint. It's Ron.
Oh, yeah. Not
Ron
even close.
in Chamber of Secrets, like that right there, like stellar Ron moments between just his facial expressions and getting in the Ford Anglia and like all of the different
So
lines
much cracking voice.
Oh my God, the puberty voice going on
Not
for
the pubic.
No, the puberty voice going on, especially for Rupert Grint in these movies. But the whole like follow the spiders, he just emotes so much. Worry and yet humor. He really, really nailed the humor. And I think, you and I talked about this, I'm pretty sure during the commentary track, just about how I think they actually leaned into Rupert Grint's comedic abilities in this movie. They just gave him more of those opportunities because it almost came off like improv-ish. Like, what would he do? I mean, goodness, the spitting out the slugs. When you think about that, this 12-year-old boy had to act out these scenes with like these big, big slugs like in his mouth and keep spitting them out. Like he was humorous and yet he probably knew he was, being amazing and stellar as he was doing it. But like, it didn't come off that way. You know,
Sure.
I genuinely still laugh when I see him in this movie.
Yep.
I still go, ooh, when he spits out the slugs. Like,
That's my favorite, I think, Rupert Grint
Yes.
moment from the film when he's spitting out the slugs. Absolutely. It's just, he's like, it's disgusting.
Yep.
You believe that there's these slugs come out of this
Yes.
kid's mouth.
Yes.
Absolutely.
We get the amazing time with the Weasley family. I mean, you touched upon Arthur Weasley. We get to hang out with them at the table. We get to have Molly Weasley, who, you know, we just get to like love on her when we get to the Order of the Phoenix. And we, of course, move on from there. She's such a mom. She's such a, like a rough and tough mom, and I can't get enough of her. Like, I love when, you know, Harry goes to the wrong place with the flu powder.
Sure.
And it's like, what did he say? Diagon Alley. Thought so. Like, like you could tell that these people have had so many kids that it's like, well, he's not splinched.
We'll get him.
Yeah. Show up somewhere. It's Harry freaking Potter. Like,
I'm Harry freaking Potter.
That's right. Harry freaking Potter.
yes.
Let's talk about the Kenneth Branagh of this film and how spectacular he is. The bit of casting, and not only just the casting of it, but how he portrays Lockhart. I know we often laugh about the that like the little laugh and the
Yes.
free of charge, but he really brings, like, I think in a lot of actors' hands, Lockhart would have been way too hammy, would have been way too tongue-in-cheek. It's almost winking at the audience, like, this is Lockhart, see what we're doing
yeah.
here?
We're leaning in.
But the funny thing is that, you know, Branagh is known for all of his adaptations of Shakespeare, and he's a well accomplished, I mean, he's probably the most respected Shakespearean actor there is.
Which I had no idea.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness. His portrayal of Hamlet. Oh, my good. Oh, fantastic. Anyway, to have that guy all of a sudden turn around and be Lockhart, it, like, not only is it genius casting, but it's believable.
Yes.
Like, you would think that in a world of this guy where he's this Shakespearean stuffy guy, you would think that's how he would act because he thinks he's awesome.
Yes.
And I don't know Kenneth Branagh from a hole in the wall. I don't know anything about him other than he's a great actor and a great director. But it's believable.
It is.
It absolutely is believable.
Yes.
I loved him in this.
Another fun thing that happened in this film that you just can't get enough of is the extraordinary Quidditch scene. You know, with Malfoy and Harry going through the Quidditch, through the stands and everything. I think that, you know, Quidditch is one of the things that, I mean, they've gone on and they have collegiate Quidditch Muggle games, and it's like taken on a league of its own, literally.
Yeah.
It's just really cool to see it, but then also to see it and you care because it's Malfoy, and we already have this hatred of him from the first movie, and you know, we're going into this movie thinking like, is he the heir of Slytherin? Mm-hmm. So I just thought they handled that quite well.
Yeah, I agree. I'm in on that. And as much as we were talking about Ginny earlier and the weird angles and how it was distorted and like it just seemed old fashioned, like it just didn't fit the feel of the film. As much as I didn't like that, I loved the scenes between Riddle and Dumbledore in the memories.
Yes.
The lighting in this scene is gorgeous. Everything is sort of drained out. It is desaturated in the film. There's some color, but it doesn't fit into the same mold as the rest of the film, except Harry. Harry still remains the same coloring.
Yes.
And the way that it was shot with the canted angles and the unease of it all, and how it really exactly mirrors the scene between Harry and Dumbledore. And notice too that Dumbledore is up on the stairs, Tom Riddle is down below the stairs, so we have a moral high ground and a moral low. Such a beautiful scene.
Agreed.
And that's kind of how I want those scenes to play out, as the Ginny scenes almost, where I wanted that same style. I just felt like that the flashbacks fit more into the visual language of the film.
Okay.
Because I think the film in general itself is a darker film.
Yes.
As it is, it's a darker book. And not only tonally and thematically, but I think actually visually as well. Mm-hmm. It's a darker looking film.
Agree.
Do you feel like it is? Do you feel like it is Harry Potter, like the film?
Yeah.
Does it feel like Harry Potter?
Yes.
I think I would kind of agree with you.
Yeah. This is when you say, okay, kids, you had fun, but now it's time to get real. We're going to start painting in blood, and kids are going to be petrified and maybe even die.
Rip, tear, kill.
The music in this film, John Williams did such an amazing job to continue over the themes that he'd already established inside Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, but then created some new ones. Very iconic. So iconic, of course, that our kids keep singing.
Yeah, that's true.
And we're like, you are so creepy. Out of all the Harry Potter songs, why do you sing the Chamber of Secrets theme all the time?
Such a creep.
Why not Hedwig's theme? Why not Harry's Wondrous Worlds?
Elizabeth says, you two have made me love Lockhart. I did not want to do that. You're welcome, Elizabeth.
You're welcome.
And Caitlin says, Dumbledore has the high ground. It's over, Anakin.
Well done, Caitlin.
Great job.
Nice.
You know what? Just for you, I have to play this. Great
Well
job.
done.
Great job. All right. Is there anything else that you want to say about this film?
I mean,
my darling?
overall, I really enjoyed it. As I said, I give it a 4.8. I think that the adaptation of the book to this movie was actually fantastic. I do think that there was very little that they could cut out of this storyline that wouldn't be easy to repair within the story of itself, but then in also the series. So I'm glad that they kept everything in. I don't have a problem with it being almost like a scenic, a scene by scene kind of movie, as I really enjoy it. I loved going further in depth in the Wizarding World and even into the dark side of the Wizarding World. The Nocturne Alley is, if you may. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I loved just like gently sliding into this and knowing that not everybody's life is perfect. We get to see the trouble that Hagrid has gone through and why Hagrid lives the way that he does. It really adds not only dimension to the Potterverse, but dimension to each of these characters,
So I think a criticism that has been lobbed at Harry Potter, the film franchise overall, is that there wasn't someone who was overseeing the series other than, let's just say, the author. Or, Steve Kloves did participate in each of the films. But visually, there was no one saying, okay, hey, listen up, guys. This is what we need to do. We had Chris Columbus as a director for the first two films, and then he was a producer on the third. But again, I would argue that there is very little Chris Columbus in that film.
Agreed.
What do you think Columbus would have done, or how do you think he would have fared if, let's just say for the sake of argument, he was the director for all 7 or 8 films? Do you think...
I think we would have gotten bored.
I think so too.
I think that it was actually a wise choice not to necessarily have the continuity, as each of these books from here on out really have a very different feel.
Yep.
They have very different adventures. Harry is from here on out, Harry's a teenager, as Azkaban and out, he's a teenager. So his emotions are extreme. And I think having different directors to portray that major shift of emotions and self-identity helps, because we are off kilter. I remember watching Prisoner of Azkaban. I obviously had just rewatched Sorcerer's Stone and just rewatched Chamber of Secrets, which, once again, you have that Chris Columbus continuity.
Yeah.
And then you get to Prisoner of Azkaban and you're suddenly on the night bus and you were like, what?
Yeah. What
is
happened?
going on?
Right.
Like the music, even John Williams really changes things up a lot with it. And as you said, just the coloring.
Even the visual language of it, how it's shot. Like there's that scene when they're walking into the 3 broomsticks, and or when even the very beginning of the film when the Dursleys answer the door and the aunt comes in, and the way it's a handheld camera, which you didn't see. You saw a little bit of it in the Chamber of Secrets. But it's almost shaky cam, the way that it happens, and it's. We graduate here. Alfonso Cuarón does something for Harry Potter that I think makes it a legitimate movie franchise.
Well, then I appreciate Chris Columbus as the first actor for these two because he does have so much experience with children actors. You know, he really finds ways to make them shine.
Yep.
I mean, we get to see a lot of the behind the scenes footage about how he had to like keep reminding them of their lines. This is the guy that directed Home Alone. You know what I mean? Like he made Macaulay Culkin shine. Granted, Macaulay Culkin was an amazing child actor again, but he knew how to bring out the best in very young children, which as an 11 and 12-year-old, these kids were. So I appreciate that they were able to then work with different directors and try different things. I'm glad that they switched things up.
Yep. All right. So you want to do some trivia? Shall we?
Okay.
Normally we do trivia. Actually, you know what?
Normally this is only the second movie.
Sorry. We can do listener questions if you like. We are already at 50 minutes. So I feel like, would you like to do some trivia real quick?
Real quick.
All right. So let's do some trivia.
Okay.
Because I liked this segment for the last.
Okay.
We did that last time. So I liked that. All right. Some trivia. The line, I didn't know you could read, that Malfoy says to Harry, disguised as Goyle, was improvised because Tom Felton forgot his lines.
That's amazing.
It was actually Jason Isaac's idea to have Lucius Malfoy sport long blonde hair as well as carry a walking stick inside of which he would conceal his wand.
Ooh,
he grew
nice.
attached to the walking stick and at one point tried to walk off with it, though he was caught.
I bet.
Rupert Grint has such a severe case of arachnophobia, he is still not watched the entire scene where Ron and Harry are Aragog's hollow.
Get out.
In that scene, Ron's frightened look and his uncomfortable squirming throughout was not from acting, but from Rupert being legitimately terrified at even the thought of spiders.
Nailed it.
The opal necklace, which plays an important role in Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, can be briefly glimpsed in a display case in Borgin and Burke's shop in Nocturne Alley. When Harry first enters, it's at around the 15-minute mark.
Ooh.
Richard Harris, R.I.P., died only a few weeks, maybe 2 weeks before the movie's release.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so sad.
Although based on the second shortest book, this is the longest of the Harry Potter films. Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, on the other hand, which is the longest book, is the second shortest of the films.
Interesting.
Eddie Redmayne, who was cast as Newt Scamander in the Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them series, actually auditioned for the role of Tom Riddle in this film.
Fun
of course,
fact.
did not get that.
He got the better end of that.
Speaking about the lighting, Chris Columbus instructed his cinematographer, Roger Pratt, to bring a darker look to the film, reflecting the darker tone of the story. Hence, the sets were lit with more subdued lighting, like all of the flames. And the color palette was desaturated just a little bit. Of course, that would continue throughout the rest of the franchise, each movie getting darker and darker and darker with each installment. Chris Columbus instructed... Oh, sorry, I was looking at the wrong one. It was actually originally written that Hermione would hug Harry and Ron in the final scene. But Emma Watson was embarrassed about having to hug the boys in front of the entire cast. So Chris Columbus allowed her to change the scene so that Hermione hugs Harry and just shakes the hand of Rupert Grint. And fun thing also, she kept on letting go of Daniel Radcliffe too quickly. So they actually had to pause the film frozen for like a couple of seconds to make it look like the hug was longer than what it was.
I love preteens.
The "Let's just hope Mr. Potter will always be around to save the day" dialogue was improvised by Daniel Radcliffe and Jason Isaacs.
Ooh.
Oh, and here's the big one, Mary, for you. When Malfoy tries to curse Harry at the end of the film, he mutters, "Avada." As mentioned in the fourth book, this is the beginning of the unforgivable curse named Avada Kedavra, or the killing curse.
Yes.
This rather makes it look like Malfoy is stupid enough to actually try to kill a child in the middle of a school chock full of students and teachers with no means of escaping.
Yeah.
But Jason Isaacs explained in several interviews the novel mentioned no specific spell for him to use, and since he had just been reading the fourth book at the time, this was the only curse he could remember.
Oh my gosh.
So as it turns out, Dobby saves Harry's life in this scene.
Oh my gosh.
It's the only thing he could remember, and they just kept it.
You know what would have been cool as if he tried Serpent Sorcia.
That would have been cool. Nurses were drafted into the production when an outbreak of head lice occurred. The young cast.
Oh, gross.
Your boy Robbie Coltrane had to turn down a pot on The West Wing to reprise his role as Hagrid.
Worth it.
Hugh Grant was originally cast as Gilderoy Lockhart.
I can see that.
But was forced to withdraw at the last moment because of scheduling conflicts with 2 weeks' notice, that film.
Whatever.
Yeah, not great, Bob. Dan Radcliffe has said that Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets is his favorite book. Mm-hmm. And while writing Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, the author was seriously considering bringing the Ford Anglia back to defend Ron from a pair of Death Eaters that corner him on the castle grounds.
I would have loved that.
The car was to emerge from the forest and run the Death Eaters straight into a wall of the castle, and the car's lights then gave out slowly as if it died. But she opted out of it as she thought the Ford Anglia would most likely have been destroyed due to living in the forest for too long, and the idea itself seemed childish to her.
Well, I dig that idea. I'm going to keep that in my headcanon.
Due to scheduling conflicts, John Williams was not able to deliver a full elaborated score.
Oh, maybe that's why he reused so much.
I know. Composer William Ross was hired to adapt Williams' material to complete the score and was subsequently conducting the orchestra during the recording sessions.
Did a good job.
When Harry speaks to Tom Riddle by writing in the diary, the handwriting seen isn't that of Daniel Radcliffe. Chris Columbus didn't feel that Radcliffe's handwriting was how a Harry would write, so an extra's handwriting was used instead.
That person also has bad handwriting, though.
I know.
Because if it's Daniel Radcliffe's writing in the first movie, it looks pretty similar. How funny that he's like, oh no, that penmanship, it was either too bad or too good.
The author actually created a guide to teach the cast members how to speak Parseltongue.
Get out.
It's true. And the set for Flourish and Blots is a redress of the set that served as Ollivander's wand shop in Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone.
Very cool.
And the last bit I have here is that when Harry is healed by Fox's tears during the finale, the music in the score echoes that of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Hashtag spoilers, in the scene where the water from the Holy Grail heals Henry Jones Sr., in the same fashion. Both films, of course, were scored by John Williams.
Yes.
And there's one thing, that was the last bit of trivia. There's one thing I do want to say. Mm-hmm. The book has Fox come in and save Harry before he acts bravely with Ginny. In the film, Harry defeats the basilisk, and he kills Tom Riddle with the basilisk fang and stabs it into the diary.
Yes.
He knows that he's going to die because of the basilisk venom.
Mm-hmm.
And Ginny wakes up as soon as Tom Riddle dies, and Harry says, go. And don't, not like go come back and get me. Just go get Ron and get out of here. And he does a genuinely brave thing in the film. Yes. And then after he does the genuinely brave thing,
it's not like, please carry me out, I'm hurt, take my body.
After he does the genuinely brave thing, one of the few things that Harry does that actually really stands out, like it just from him.
Them's fighting words, but I will forgive you. Continue.
Fox comes and then saves him. Which I really like that choice. Instead of Fox coming in, saving the day, and then Harry being like, okay, yay, we're going to stab the book. Everything happens, and then Fox saves him.
Yes.
So I think that was a really great choice, too.
Nice.
So that is that. Anything else you want to say about this film?
No, I really enjoy this movie. I love when they're little. I just love when they're little. Little puddins.
I know, it's so cute. All right, let's close this bad boy out, shall we? Let's do it.
Thank you so much for joining us for the Chamber of Secrets, whether through the book or the movies, discussions, or both. We just really appreciate spending this time with you, delving into the Potterverse. And of course, we're going to be taking a 1-week break from the Potterverse as we go into The Crown for our Keep Calm and Crown Now, which is available at jointhenerdclan.com. And we will reconvene in 2 weeks, well, like a week and a half, to dive into The Prisoner of Azkaban.
I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the story evolving. I can't wait to get into that perspective. It's just a different feel.
Yes.
It's just a totally different feel. And the author abandons the structure that she used in these past 2 books.
The beginner books, yeah. The training wheels are off.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm very excited about it. I can't wait to get into it. Of course, go to jointhenerdclan.com to become an official member over there. We can get all the cool stuff that we have, including Keep Common Crown On and the commentary tracks that we have done for these films, and there's so many other cool things like the After Dark show for This Is Us. Oh man, it's great. Early access to the podcasts. It's good.
It is. Well, for now, my name's Mary Larson.
My name's Blake, and I'll be wearing a Hufflepuff t-shirt next episode.
Woohoo! Mischief managed.